the Solomonster. WWE stars. There should have been much bigger deals. Yeah. Mm. So you got Joe, RVD, Vader, and I think that's what's that dude's name? The Dream. Out of what out of what he's got on the screen here, I think RVD probably his biggest one was he was there in the early 2000s. I think even in the 90s they wanted to sign him from ECW. I think. So let's see. So Monster's talking about.
Jesse from Johannesburg. Who are the people that you feel really never lived up to maximum potential in WWE? For me, he says it's Wade Barrett, Ryback, even though I don't like the guy, and Samoa Joe. Mm. Samoa Joe would definitely be near the top of my list. And maybe, the wars that he has been in have worn him down physically, and physically maybe he's not exactly the performer he was 15 years ago or 20 years ago, but I mean, who is? Joe can still go. But we're talking about Joe 7 or 8 years ago. 7 or 8 years younger, maybe 10, right? Didn't he come into NXT in 2015? That was 10 years ago. 10 years younger than he is even now. They had the chance to make the most of what they had in Samoa Joe, and they squandered it. For all the good shit that you could point to that he did, they squandered what they had in Samoa Joe. Because that man on the microphone, he could just torch anybody on that roster and go toe-to-toe with the very best that they had. And it was just a matter of, it was a combination of a couple of things. It was obviously his health. And I know he got a concussion, he got hurt a couple of times. And Vince McMahon just never saw him as being that guy that they could put the world title on and build around as anything at the top of the card. Because if he did, guess what? He would have done it. He didn't see Joe in that way. And that's a shame. Because if somebody else was in charge at that time, I think things would have gone very differently for Samoa Joe. So I 100% agree with you as far as him being on that list. I'll spit another name out at you. Vader.
Yeah.
Look at the run that Vader had in WWE. Compare that to the run that he had as Big Man Vader in WCW.
He was a beast.
Coming out with the giant helmets and having those wars that he had with people like Sting and the Bulldog and Luger and Foley. I mean, Vader was a monster in WCW. And he was a monster, a big man monster that could work and would have great matches. And then he went to WWE. From the moment he came into the company, he had a shoulder injury. He was not 100% physically.
I remember hearing as far as the Vader thing, what messed him up with WWF back then, when he got into that fight with Vader. When he got into that fight with Orndorff, I guess people heard about that. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but yeah, they said that's what slowed him down. But yeah, but Vader wasn't garbage, because like the big guys could move. Vader and Bam Bam and the Taker, you guys can move, because Vader was something else.
But even taking that away for a moment, and just look at the way he was booked. He was supposed to win the World Championship at SummerSlam from Shawn Michaels, and then that got changed. And so they went in a different direction, and Sid ended up with the belt, and he was super over, but Vader never attained the heights in WWE that he did in WCW. And again, maybe he wasn't exactly the same performer that he was. The Vader we saw in 1996 and 1997 was not the same Big Van Vader that existed in 1992.
That wasn't Vader.
But even still, he could have been that guy. He should have been so much more than he was. He should have been a fucking killer. And it was a combination of bad booking and injuries that did him in. And he was never the same after that. Rob Van Dam. For all the success that RVD had in WWE, he won the WWE title. It was brief. It was only a few weeks. But he was the champion. He was Intercontinental Champion and Mr. Money in the Bank. It's not like he didn't do anything. When RVD came in, I mean, he turned a lot of heads.
Yeah, Van Damme ain't
Mine
garbage.
included.
Van Damme's
Things
a
he
good
was
one.
doing in the ring, he made it all look so easy and fluid. And I'm like, man, the sky's the limit for this guy. This guy can do it all. And there were forces that obviously conspired against him because he wasn't necessarily everyone's favorite behind the scenes. And he never attained the heights that I think he should have attained. As high as he got, and I swear to God I didn't do that on purpose, but as high as he did get in WWE, he could have gotten even higher. He should have been higher. Mr. Kennedy beat a bunch of former world champions.
Oh, yeah,
He won Money in the
Kennedy.
Bank. He was going to be the first man to cash in at WrestleMania. That was the plan. Until he got hurt right after he won the briefcase, and they felt like they had to rush it off of him, which to this day, I still don't quite understand that. But after that, he was going to be revealed. There was another plan for him to be revealed as Vince McMahon's illegitimate son. All of these things. How far did he get? What major championships did he win? Now, part of that is his own fault because, he also made some mistakes on his own, but he was somebody also who was being groomed to be a top guy in that company, and it just never happened. He flamed out. Big Cass and Enzo. How are they never tag team champions in WWE? How are they not bigger than they ended up being?
Thought they did get the tag belts.
And if I had to pick one more name, and I think of NXT, and somebody who was on the ascent, and everybody was looking at this guy as like, this guy's going to be money. When he ultimately hits the main roster, he's like 5 years from now, we're going to be looking at this guy as one of the top 5 guys on the WWE main roster. Because he's young, and he's talented, and he's got the gimmick down, and he's got it all. It was the Velveteen Dream. And we all see what happened there. So you talk about maximum potential that was never realized. Got to have Velveteen Dream on that list. He will go down as one of the great what-ifs in that company. Got an email here from November, here in March. I wanted to ask your thoughts on the Undertaker versus Sting dream match. Sting is
that's
my
you can forget all that
wrestler, but I've always felt that once he speaks...
I don't know about, people still talking about that. That ain't happening, that ain't happening. But you can forget about it. That's not happening. If you paid Sting and Taker $10 million apiece, that's not happening.
The mystique of Crow Sting fades a bit. Plus, I don't think the match would have lived up to the hype, especially since Undertaker elevated his in-ring game after bringing back the Deadman character at WrestleMania 20. Meanwhile, Sting's style has always been more about energy, splashes and punches, and he says locks, I don't know what that means, rather than technical variety. The only version of this match I think would have truly worked is 98 Sting against 99 Undertaker. What do you think? Which versions of these characters would have made for the best match? How would you book it, face versus face or heel versus babyface? And most importantly, do you think that it would have actually been a good match? Well, that's impossible to know, of course, but I think with both of them still in their physical primes, yes, I think it could have been a very good match. Now, if you want my honest opinion on what I think the best match would have been, then I think you're looking at 98 Crow Sting against one of the later versions of The Undertaker from the mid-2000s. I think you're looking at 98 Crow Sting against 2007 Undertaker. If you want to get the best match out of the two of them, I think that's what you're looking at. You look at some of those matches Undertaker had in that 2007 to 2009 period, those are some of the best in-ring matches of his entire career. He seemed to get better as time went on until one day he just kind of hit a wall and then it was all downhill from there. His body could just take no more. But he just seemed to get better because The Undertaker had been around forever. He debuted in that company in 1990. And he was beat up even in the late 90s. All the injuries, and doctors telling him you're going to have to get your hip replaced. That was in 98. And then there he is in 2005 and 2007 going out there and having the kinds of matches he was having with people like Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, and Batista. And it's like, if you could take this Undertaker in the ring and combine it with like the original gimmick, I mean, my God, the guy would have been unstoppable.
He's something else.
So that's what I would say. 98 Crow Sting against 2007 Undertaker. You could do 98 Undertaker, the one who threw Mankind off the top of the Hell in a Cell. That would work too. As far as what kind of match, face versus face or face versus heel, I think you do babyface against babyface. It's WWF against WCW. You know, we talk about tribalism. Everybody would mobilize on their side of the aisle, and that's what would make it fun. And you get babyface Undertaker with his fans against babyface Sting with his fans. Yeah, but the darker version of Sting, it's got to be Crow Sting, not Surfer Sting. Surfer Sting probably had better matches, but I mean, does anybody want to see Surfer Sting with the bright colors against the Undertaker? I don't think that's the version of the Undertaker Sting match that people have fantasized about. Let's get the multicolored Surfer Sting from 1992 Beach Blast, you know, against the Undertaker. So I think those are the versions you're looking at. Would it have been a good match? Yes, I think it would have. I do think some
Surfer
people would
Sting.
have had expectations so sky high that they probably would have, you know, let themselves down because it would have been through the roof. But I still think in their physical prime, yeah, they would have gone out there and they would have killed it. You know, and it's a shame we never got to see it.
Yeah.
You mastered your mind.
Yeah. What is it about Surfer Sting versus the Dark Taker? How about that? But yeah, that would have been something. I would say 05 Undertaker. Cause yeah, he just kept getting better. So yeah. But yeah, getting back to Vader though, yeah, because I think once two things and I felt bad. I was like, it was impressive when Mark Henry manhandled Vader, and then Kane beat the hell out of him. I was like, okay, that's it for Vader. I think the last thing he did was he had broke Yokozuna's leg, and then after that, that was it for Vader. So, and Joe, but RVD. 2002, 2003, he was pretty good up there. And of course, the match with Cena, who they gave that boy hell. Yeah, but I thought I forgot who was talking about that, but I thought they wanted to get RVD, like in 99 or 98, but maybe that's just a rumor, but yeah, they like the main one, like I said, I still just couldn't get over Vader. Vader wasn't Vader when he went up there.